Well, I just want to ask a very simple question this evening. And the question that we are asking is, what made David to secure permission from a king who actually doubted him? King Saul did not believe that David had the capacity or had the power to be able to kill Goliath. He told him, "You don't have the chance. You are simply a boy." So he doubted him. He actually despised him. He actually faced discouragement from his own brother, and finally he was distracted. You see, King Saul gave David a number that was too big and too heavy, something that he was not used to. And how comes that David was able, despite the 4 Ds that we've mentioned, that he was doubted, he was despised, he was distracted, he was discouraged? How comes that he was able to overcome those 4 Ds and secure permission from a king that did not believe in him? And I think this is very important in today, that we are able to, as whether in workplace, whether you are offering yourself for a political seat, or whether you are offering yourself in a job position. These are some of the obstacles that we face every day. We face people that don't believe in us, people who doubt us, people who despise us, people who distract us, people who basically dismiss us, people who don't believe in us. What are some of the skills can we use in a workplace, in the political arena, that can help us secure permission or can actually give us favor and allow those people that should give us favor give us the opportunity to do that which God has called us to do? Four C's. C number one is that we need to be courageous. In other words, we must be willing to do things that others are afraid of doing. What was that one thing that everybody was afraid of doing? And the thing is that everybody was afraid of facing Goliath. Everybody, every soldier in Israel at that time, for 40 days and for 40 nights, nobody was willing to go and face Goliath. Everybody ran away, including Abner, the army commander. But David comes from the bush and says, "Hey, I will face this guy." He showed some act of courage. Can I speak to somebody today and tell us that courage is contagious? Every time when we step in and we are able to tell everybody that we can do that thing that they are afraid of doing, then that courage becomes contagious. Everybody wants to see us. We become attractive. You see, I came across a quote that says that when you set yourself on fire, people will come to watch you burn. And literally, this is what David did. He set himself on fire, and people came to watch him because they thought he had little chances. Courage is very, very important. And now I pray that we are going to have men and women who are going to be courageous. Courageous to say things that others are afraid of saying. Courageous pastors that will be able to go out there and say corruption is evil. Men and women will go out there in the streets and say, "You cannot come into the church with the dress of your choice. You must dress decently." We need to have men and women who are courageous and say that we need to stop erecting leaders. We need to stop recycling leaders that are corrupt, that are wicked. It is high time that we elect leaders that are clean, that are credible. So courage is very important. When Saul saw the courage of this young man, basically 17-year-old, what did he do? He offered him the opportunity to go and face Goliath. Number two, David also not only was he courageous, but again he was credible. In other words, he was a clean man. He was not clever. He said it. He said, "The reason why I want to go and kill Goliath is very simple. Number one, I want to liberate my people. It is bad that the armies of the living God are living in shame, are living in fear. It is bad that the armies of the living God are being taunted, are being tainted as useless, as powerless. It pains me, it bothers me." And again, he also wanted the whole Israelite and the whole world at that time to know that God is able to save, even from Goliath, who was a champion. His motives were clean, his motives were pure, his motives were noble, his motives were lofty. It was not about himself, he was sacrificial. And I think we need to elect leaders that are clean. We need to be credible. We need to be men and women of character. A quote goes something like this: that, oh God, help us that our principal men will be men of principle. And it is very important that whenever we are out there, whether we are standing in front of a camera, whether we are switching parties, or whether we are hopping from church A to whatever church that we are going to, whether we want to preach or whatever it is, or whether we are starting a business, our motive needs to be clean. If you're starting a business, maybe the motive would be to create job employment. Maybe it will be maybe to help people. Our motives need to be clean. And every time when our motive is clean, even when you go out there to offer yourself for a job opportunity, even when you offer yourself for a political office, even when you join that church, your motive needs to be clean. It needs to be uplifting. It doesn't need to be about yourself. Number three, Saul was able to give King David the opportunity, not only because of courage, not only because of his credibility, but then number three, because of his confidence. In other words, he said things that others were unwilling to say. When he came face to face with Goliath, this is what he said: "You come against me with spears and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord. And today I'm going to chop off your head, and I'm going to feed your body to the army, to the birds of the air. And the whole world will know that God does not save with the javelins and spears." And that was something that actually nobody expected David to say. This was a full act of confidence. In other words, he said, even before I face you, even before we have a combat, get it this, I am going to win this battle, and God is going to be glorified, and God is going to be honored. And I think it is very important for us to be able to know that confidence is very important. We need to pack confidence in our hearts. We need to pack confidence into our bag, because the moment when we pack confidence, it is said that we have won the battle like 40% have you ever seen somebody walking in with a lot of fear, with a lot of in an act of coward? Nobody can give you a job when you are fearful. But David went in with a lot of courage. With a lot of confidence. He said it: I am going to win. I am going to make it. This Goliath is going to die. And the whole Israelite today will know that God is there and that He is powerful. And I think it is very important for us to be able to step in life with a lot of courage, with a lot of, with a lot of confidence. There's a lot of things that makes us to feel like we cannot. But then we need to look at the mirror and say, by God's grace, I'm going to make it. By God's power, I'm going to win. This marriage is going to be a success story. This business is going to be a success story. I am not going to die before I become a winner. I am not going to die before my business becomes global or multinational. That kind of inner confidence. The things that you say to yourself that I'm going to make it are very important. And then very important is creativity. David was able to approach the whole combat with a lot of creativity. King Goliath, Goliath himself, thought that he would engage himself in what we call inventory. Because Goliath was a good foot soldier, but David changed the tactics. He introduced something that was new and strange to Goliath. He went as a stringer. This was a whole military experience, or a military strategy, in which was very new for Goliath, who was a champion. And so, even when he was given, what do you call, even when he was given the armor, which belonged to Saul, he said, I can't go in this, it's too big for me. I'm not used to it. It's going to slow me down, it's going to make me ineffective. And you see, somebody called David is somebody who was creative. and allow us to speak to the business community. If you want to attract customers as a pastor, if you want people to flock into the church, if that is your goal, if you are a politician, if you want people to follow you and to elect you, then you just need to discard what is trendy. You need to discard what everybody thinks is workable, and you need to go into those new terrains. You need to repack yourself with creativity. You know, it's high time that we discard traditional beliefs. You know, for example, who said that you must open a shop, a physical shop for you to sell things? You can be able to sell things online, for example. you know we just need to repackage ourselves completely different, in a way that is good for us, in a way in which we flow. We need to repackage ourselves the way we are wired. If you take a fish, for example, and ask it to fry, then it will die thinking it's stupid because it cannot be able to fry. If you take again a hare and ask it to climb in a tree, then it of course it will die thinking it's foolish because it was not wired, it was not designed to climb trees as like the monkey. We must be able to repackage ourselves in the way God wired us to be. If you're good in talking, then grab a camera, go out there and talk to people. If you're good in selling, go out there and sell. If you're good in singing, please, for Christ's sake, go to the trees, sing to them. People are going to come and pay you for talking. We don't need to do this copycat kind of a thing. We just need to be different. So those are the 4 C's that made David to secure permission from a king that was unwilling to allow him. So it's possible, it's doable. If you feel stuck, if you feel you cannot be able to make a move in your life, our encouragement is to tell you, you need to pack the 4 C's. Let me recap them again for you. Number one, you need to be courageous. Do things, say things that others are afraid of doing. Number two, be credible. Do things with a clean motive, with a godly motive, to uplift you people, to help people, to make people better. Number three, be confident. Be willing to say that I'm going to make it despite the challenges ahead. And then number four, we've said be creative, rebrand yourself in a different way. Well, thank you very much. This is Marketplace Believers, an online platform that actually encourages, equips, and empowers believers in marketplace, whether in politics, whether in business, or whether in church, to be useful. And I just want to encourage you, please go to our YouTube channel, John Kimani. You can also go to our page, our Facebook page, John Kimani, and please like and share, because we always say here, inawezekana. And by the way, on November the 2nd, on Tuesday, from 8:30, we are having a creativity class. And this is a class that you cannot afford to miss. So why don't you join us for this wonderful class? And the good news, it is free. It is free. My name is John Kimani. Remember what you always say, inawezekana. For those of you that have been able to watch us, the many of you, well, I cannot be able to, because you are many of you, Grace, Waroe, John Boro, thank you very much, and God bless you. And remember, before you go to sleep, always to say, inawezekana.